What if I told you that the moment everything broke between Meghan Markle and Prince Harry started with a single sentence whispered in a hallway after a phone call neither of them were supposed to hear? What if I told you that Meghan just made a move so shocking, so bold, so quietly explosive, that even the palace scrambled to respond in real time, and Harry, for the first time in years, refused to obey her? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And what if I told you that after that moment, after that confrontation, after that decision, Harry finally said the one thing Meghan thought she would never hear from him? I'm divorcing you. Now, before you think you know where this is going, slow down. Because everything you're about to hear in this story doesn't just twist once. It twists again, and again, and again. This isn't just a story about a royal argument. It isn't just a story about custody, control, or media narratives. This is the unraveling of a marriage, a legacy, a power imbalance, a years-long psychological tug-of-war, finally snapping. And it all began with King Charles making one simple request, one that Meghan absolutely did not want Harry to say yes to. Let me spend time with Archie and Lily. A grandfather's request, an explosive marital crisis, a battle for influence, legacy, and narrative control. So let's step into the moment that set everything into motion, the moment that forced Harry to choose between Meghan and his family. Because nothing about what Meghan did next was accidental. Nothing was harmless. Nothing was random. And if you've ever wondered how fast a marriage can collapse when two people finally refuse to pretend anymore, keep listening. This story matters not just because it's royal family drama. It matters because, for the first time ever, the world is seeing the consequences of Harry and Meghan's years-long war, not only with the palace, but with each other. And the pressure has finally boiled over. Let's go back to the beginning of this unraveling. The night Harry walked into the room pale, shaking, and speechless after receiving an envelope with the royal seal. Not emailed, not texted, delivered. Meghan knew immediately it wasn't from a fan or a friend. It was from the palace. But what she didn't know, not yet, was that what was inside that envelope would ignite the biggest fight she and Harry had ever had. For months, the royal family has been shifting. The king's health, public pressure, William taking more responsibilities, the monarchy stabilizing without Harry and Meghan in the picture. And in the middle of all of this, Charles's aching need to see his grandchildren before it's too late. This wasn't PR. This wasn't strategy. This was personal. And Meghan's reaction? Immediate, explosive, calculated. Because at the very second Harry opened that letter, she knew what Charles really wanted, to re-establish a connection that bypassed her entirely. And that terrified her. But Harry, for the first time in years, didn't check with Meghan before reacting. He didn't rehearse his feelings. He didn't adjust his words. He didn't ask her for guidance. He just felt. And that was dangerous. Because when Harry feels, he remembers. He remembers the boy who walked behind his mother's coffin. He remembers the warmth of his grandmother. He remembers all the years he spent trying to prove he wasn't the spare. And yes, he remembers life before Meghan. So what happens when a man who's been pulled away from his family for years is suddenly handed a letter that reawakens all those suppressed emotions? You get conflict. You get fear. You get strategy. You get one of the biggest marital meltdowns the Sussex home has seen in a long time. And yet, that's not even the part Meghan reacted to most fiercely. It was what Harry said next. Because that night, after reading the king's letter once, then twice, then a third time, Harry stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water with a trembling hand, and said a sentence Meghan never expected to hear. I think the kids deserve to know him. That one sentence. That single, harmless-sounding statement was enough to set off a chain reaction Meghan could not control. Because here's the truth almost nobody talks about. Meghan's power over Harry only works when Harry believes the palace is against him. But what happens if Harry believes, even for 1 second, that the palace still loves him, still wants him, still sees him as family? Her influence cracks, and Meghan knows this. And you can almost hear the gears turning in her mind. You can almost feel the tension thickening in the room. You can almost picture Meghan walking slowly toward Harry, fighting to keep her voice steady, asking the question she already knew the answer to. So you want to take them there? Without talking to me first. That's when everything shifted. Because Harry didn't answer immediately. And silence is worse than any confession. He didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He didn't soften it. That silence told Meghan everything she feared was happening. Harry was slipping out of her control. Once that realization hit, Meghan acted fast. Too fast. Faster than Harry expected. Faster than the palace could respond. In the next hour, she made 3 calls. One to her lawyer, one to a PR consultant, and one to a friend whose name Harry instantly recognized and instantly resented. But we'll get to that. For now, let's stay in the moment where the tension between them grew so thick you could trace it in the air like smoke. Meghan turned to Harry, arms crossed, voice trembling, not with sadness, but with frustration. "You're not taking them there." But Harry didn't argue. He didn't yell. He didn't match her intensity. He simply said, "I haven't decided yet." And that was worse. Because indecision is where emotion lives. It's where doubt sneaks in. It's where Meghan loses control of the script. Now here's something you need to understand about this moment. Harry has been suppressing his need for paternal connection for years. He has been trying to balance loyalty to Meghan with the ache of losing his family. He has been trying to rewrite his childhood trauma through adulthood choices. But the truth? You can't outrun your roots. You can't bury your past. You can't pretend your father doesn't exist forever. And for Harry, this was the first time in a long time that he felt the pull of family stronger than the pull of chaos. But just as Harry was wrestling with emotion, Meghan was wrestling with fear. A deeper fear than anyone realizes. Because here's the contradiction behind everything. Meghan wants control, but she also wants validation. She wants independence, but she also wants influence. She wants distance from the monarchy, but she cannot tolerate being excluded. And this moment, this letter, this decision, threatened all 3. Meghan wasn't just worried about the kids visiting Charles. She was worried about Harry rediscovering a world she cannot control. A family narrative she no longer writes. A royal identity she cannot reshape. So she did what Meghan always does when something threatens the image she's built. She planned. She calculated. She pre-reacted. And what she did next? The moment she stepped out of the room, shut the door, picked up her phone, and started making calls, was the moment everything truly detonated. Because Harry overheard part of that conversation. A small part, but enough. Enough to understand that Meghan wasn't going to let this happen quietly. Enough to realize she was preparing a wall of legal, emotional, and PR firepower. Enough to know she didn't just disagree with him. She was getting ready to stop him. But here's the cruel twist in all this. Harry wasn't angry that she disagreed. He was angry that she didn't trust him to be a father. And that was the emotional crack that split the foundation of their marriage. The more Meghan pushed back, the more Harry felt isolated. The more she strategized, the more he shut down. The more she calculated, the more he remembered moments where he didn't have to justify fatherhood to anyone. And then, as Meghan was pacing, calling, planning, Harry quietly whispered something to himself. Something she didn't hear then, but would hear later. "I can't keep doing this." This story matters now because the entire dynamic between Harry and Meghan is shifting in real time. And this moment, this decision, this question about Archie and Lily's relationship with their grandfather isn't just another argument. It's a turning point, a fracture, a realization. Because Meghan's next move, one you'll see in Chapter 1, wasn't just bold. It was explosive. It was strategic. It was personal. And it was the moment Harry finally decided. This is it. But what came next would change everything. And no one saw it coming. What if the moment that changes your life forever begins not with a scream, not with an argument, not with some dramatic explosion, but with silence? Cold, sharp, heavy. Because that's exactly where we pick up. Harry standing in the hallway. Meghan behind a closed door. A phone pressed to her ear. A strategy already forming. And Harry, frozen, realizing that whatever Meghan was planning, it wasn't about discussion. It was about control. Let me ask you something right now. Have you ever overheard just enough of a conversation to know it wasn't meant for you? Just enough to understand the intention, but not the full plan? Just enough to feel your stomach drop? Because that's where Harry is as this chapter begins. He hears her voice, low, tense, sharp. He hears his own name. He hears the words, "No, he won't listen unless." And that's when it hits him. Meghan wasn't reacting emotionally. She was preparing strategically. And suddenly, this wasn't a private disagreement anymore. This was a battle. A battle to determine not just where the children would go, but who held the power. Harry steps closer to the door, not to eavesdrop, but because his feet move without permission. He's breathing quietly. He's listening carefully. He's hoping, somehow, that he misunderstood. But then he hears it, the sentence that slices straight through him. He can't take the kids to the UK. We need to make sure there are measures, preventative measures. Preventative measures. Think about that phrase. Not let's talk. Not let's compromise. Not let's see what's best for the children. No, preventative measures. That's not negotiation. That's obstruction. And Harry feels it, the familiar tightening in his chest. The same feeling he used to get when palace officials made decisions about him without consulting him. The same feeling he got when the media told his story before he had a chance to speak. And the contradiction hits him hard. He left the royal family to escape control. But now control has followed him home. And it's wearing designer heels. He steps back. He goes to the living room. He sinks into the couch, hands clasped, staring at his phone, wondering if he should say something. Interrupt. Confront. Assert himself. But then the door opens. Meghan steps out. Not panicked. Not emotional. Not chaotic. Composed. That's what throws him. Because just minutes ago, she looked rattled. But now, it's like she slipped into a different version of herself. The version she uses when she wants an outcome. Harry, she begins, crossing her arms. We need to talk. But before she can say another word, Harry notices something. Her expression. Meghan isn't afraid of losing her husband. She's afraid of losing her narrative. Who were you talking to? Harry asks. His voice isn't raised. It isn't angry. It isn't dramatic. It's calm. Too calm. Meghan hates that kind of calm. It doesn't matter, she replies quickly. What matters is we need to handle this properly. Properly, Harry repeats. Is that what you call it? Meghan exhales sharply. You're being emotional again. 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 That word twists something deep in Harry's chest. Because for years, he has tried to explain that emotion isn't weakness. Emotion is human. Emotion is connection. Emotion is why he fought for therapy, healing, understanding. But to Meghan, emotion is inconvenience. Meghan, Harry says quietly, it's not emotional to want the kids to know their grandfather. And here comes the first spark of the explosion. And it's not logical, Meghan shoots back. To take them into an environment that traumatized you. There it is. The weapon. The emotional grenade. The thing Meghan always throws into the argument when she wants to win without discussion. His trauma. Harry stands. Slowly. Deliberately. You don't get to use my past to control my present, he says. And that sentence, that one line, lands like a shockwave. Because Meghan didn't expect it. She expected him to soften. To bend. To retreat. To say sorry. To back down the way he always has. But this time, he doesn't. Harry, stop, Meghan says, hands raised as if calming a wild animal. You're not thinking clearly. Maybe for once I am, he replies. And the tension, it's thick enough to touch, sharp enough to cut, loud enough to feel. But here's where things get interesting. Meghan doesn't argue. Not at first. She pivots. Look, she says, I'm just trying to protect our family. Our family, Harry echoes. The same family your phone call was about? The one you didn't want me to hear. She freezes. Just a fraction of a second. Barely noticeable. But Harry sees everything. Harry, she begins. No, he interrupts. Not angrily, simply firmly. I heard enough. And Meghan knows he means it. That's when her tone changes again. So what, she says. You're just going to side with them now. There it is. The line of division. Them. And us. But Harry shakes his head. This isn't about taking sides, he says. This is about what's right. And that sentence, spoken softly, without theatrics, is more threatening to Meghan than anything else he could have said. Because for the first time in a long time, Harry isn't speaking through her. He's speaking as himself. She sits down across from him. Her eyes narrow, not with anger, but with calculation. So what do you want, Harry? She asks. Her voice is quieter now, measured, almost rehearsed. Harry looks up slowly. I want to take the kids to see my father. Silence. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 15. It stretches. It lingers. It tightens the room like a wire pulled too far. Finally, Meghan speaks. You can't. Why not? Because it's not safe. 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 Another weaponized word. Harry tilts his head. The kids don't need saving from their own family, he replies. From the environment, Harry, Meghan snaps. From the chaos. From the press. From your brother. From the emotional manipulation. Have you already forgotten what they did to us? No, Harry says softly. I haven't forgotten. I've just finally realized something. Meghan leans in. What? Harry takes a breath. A father shouldn't have to ask permission to let his children see their grandfather. Now watch Meghan here. Her reaction isn't explosive. It's controlled. Controlled in a way that says she's already 5 steps into her next move. Harry, she says slowly, if you take them there, you know exactly what will happen. He waits. She continues. They will try to pull you back. They will use the children to manipulate you. And everything you've built here, everything we've built, will fall apart. But Harry shakes his head. Meghan, things are already falling apart. And that is the first true crack. The first honest admission. The first unfiltered emotion. The first time he said something she can't spin. And Meghan feels it. She feels that control slipping. And fear, real fear, flickers across her face for one brief second. But just as quickly as it appears, she buries it. You're making a mistake, she warns. Harry steps closer. So are you. Then, suddenly, Meghan pivots again. Fine, she says with a sigh. Fine. If you think this is what's best, then let's discuss it properly. Together. But Harry already knows what this is. A delay tactic. A reframe tactic. A manipulation tactic. Meghan, he says, I love you. But I'm not going to debate whether my children can see their grandfather. Her jaw tightens. So what now, she whispers. You just go behind my back? Harry looks at her, really looks at her. And then he says the sentence that Meghan will replay in her mind long after this night. I'm done choosing between you and everyone else I love. The silence that follows is volcanic. Meghan stares at him. Not shocked. Not angry. Something more dangerous. Something colder. Something that means she already has a plan forming. And Harry sees it. He recognizes that expression. It's the same one she had before the Oprah interview. The same one she had before the Netflix deal. The same one she had before the book. It's Meghan in strategy mode. And that scares him more than any argument could. She stands up slowly. Okay, she says. If that's how it's going to be, then I need to prepare. Prepare for what? Harry asks. But she doesn't answer. She just walks to the bedroom, closes the door, locks it. And that's when Harry knows. Whatever comes next isn't compromise. It's retaliation. Because Meghan didn't just get upset. She mobilized. And the next move she makes, the one she is planning in that locked room, is the one that starts the unraveling of their marriage for real. And trust me, what she does next will make this argument look like nothing. What if the most dangerous move a person can make isn't explosive, isn't loud, isn't emotional? What if the most dangerous move is quiet? Because that's exactly how Meghan begins this chapter of the story. Not with shouting, not with tears, not with pleas, but with silence. A silence so sharp it feels intentional. A silence so rehearsed it feels dangerous. A silence so cold it makes Harry check the hallway twice, just to make sure she's still inside that room. And let me ask you something. Have you ever been in the same house as someone you're fighting with, and the quiet was worse than the yelling? Because silence implies thinking, planning, preparing. And Meghan Markle has never been the type to sit quietly without a plan forming behind her eyes. Harry sits in the living room. The clock ticks. The house feels strangely hollow. The air feels heavy. He checks his phone again. A new message from the palace sits unread. King Charles's team. Clear. Respectful. Formal. Asking, again, if Harry has considered the request. And the question hanging in the air is almost suffocating. Will Harry respond before Meghan does? Inside the bedroom, Meghan is pacing. Her steps sharp. Her breath controlled. Her expression shifting between two versions of herself, the panicked mother and the ruthless strategist. And this internal split is the contradiction Meghan lives in every day. She wants family unity, but only on her terms. She wants Harry to heal, but in the direction she chooses. She wants control of the narrative, even when the narrative is slipping. And right now, she feels it slipping, right through her fingers. She picks up her phone, dials a number, waits. Hi, she says when the line picks up. Her voice is lower now, professional, not personal. I need to speak with you about something urgent. No, not tomorrow. Now. The person on the other end is calm. Assured. Familiar. Is it about Harry? Meghan exhales slowly. Yes. And the children? Her eyes narrow. Yes. And Charles? A pause. A long, tense pause. Then, yes. But here's the thing. Meghan doesn't go into detail. Not yet. This isn't a conversation for facts. This is a conversation for strategy. Because Meghan knows the next 24 hours will determine everything. Public perception, legal positioning, emotional leverage, parenting logistics, reputational safety. This isn't about a grandfather seeing his grandchildren anymore. It's about control. And she isn't planning to lose. Back in the living room, Harry finally stands. He walks toward the bedroom door. He stops. He lifts his hand. But then he hesitates. Because part of him is afraid. Not of Meghan. Not of confrontation. He's afraid of the truth that might be waiting behind that door. That Meghan is no longer reacting emotionally. She's reacting strategically. And that, to Harry, is the beginning of the end. He knocks gently. Meghan. No answer. Can we talk? Still nothing. Meghan, I'm not your enemy. Silence. Not a normal silence. A constructed silence. The kind you create when you want the other person to feel uncertain. The kind you use to regain control of the room without ever opening the door. Harry steps back. Because deep down he knows. She's not ignoring him. She's preparing. After 10 long minutes, the door opens by an inch. Meghan stands there. Her face calm. Too calm. Her voice measured. Harry, she says, come inside. There's something you need to see. Something you need to see. Notice that. Not something we should talk about. Not something we should discuss. Not something we should work through together. Something you need to see. That's deliberate. That's intentional. That's Meghan redirecting control of the narrative. Harry steps inside slowly. Meghan closes the door behind him. On the bed is a letter. Not typed. Not printed. Handwritten. And not by her. Harry's blood runs cold before he even picks it up. Where did this come from? He asks quietly. It was delivered today, Meghan replies. A beat. Addressed to me. To me. Not to us. Not to the family. Not to the household. To Meghan. Harry swallows hard. He recognizes the handwriting. It's from King Charles. This letter is different from the one Harry received. Different tone. Different intention. Charles wrote to Harry with emotion, regret, hope. But this letter, addressed to Meghan, is something else entirely. And it's the first surprising twist of this chapter. Charles went directly to Meghan. And Meghan didn't tell Harry. In that moment, Harry feels it. Betrayal slicing through confusion, cutting straight into trust. Why didn't you show me this earlier? He asks. Meghan doesn't flinch. Because I didn't want to influence your decision, she answers. That sentence is so ironic that Harry almost laughs. Influence your decision. That is precisely what it was meant to do. He picks up the letter and reads. Now here's the emotional contradiction. The letter is respectful, gentle, diplomatic, but it contains one line. One carefully chosen line that Meghan knew Harry would react to. My only wish is that the children know they are loved by all sides of their family. All sides of their family. Meghan watches Harry's reaction closely. Too closely. She studies the micro-expressions. The tightening jaw. The shallow breath. The shift of his shoulders. She isn't watching with empathy. She's watching with calculation. How does that make you feel? She asks. Harry sets the letter down slowly. It makes me feel like he's trying, he says. For once, he's trying. And Meghan, instead of acknowledging that, shakes her head. No, Harry, she says sharply. He's positioning you. Positioning me? Harry's voice rises slightly. Yes, she insists. This is emotional manipulation wrapped in royal stationery. But that's not what Harry feels. Not right now. Right now he feels longing, loss, and something he hasn't felt toward his father in years. Hope. Meghan, he says quietly, not everything is a trap. Everything with them is a trap, she fires back. You don't know that. I do, she snaps. But Harry isn't arguing anymore. He's observing. And he sees something he hasn't noticed before. Not clearly, not consciously. Meghan isn't afraid of the royal family. She's afraid of what Harry becomes when the royal family reaches out. She's afraid of losing influence. Losing narrative control. Losing the version of Harry she has shaped. And the realization hits him like a wave. She isn't fighting for the children. She's fighting for domination. Harry takes a breath. Did you respond to him? He asks. Meghan pauses. Then, yes. And there it is. The bombshell. Not that she received a letter. Not that Charles wrote to her. But that she replied. Before Harry even knew the letter existed. What did you say? Harry asks. Meghan hesitates. Barely. But he sees it. I told him, she begins slowly, that the children are not available for international travel at this time due to ongoing emotional concerns. Harry blinks. You said what? Harry, you told my father the kids can't travel? Because it's true. No, Harry says, his voice suddenly sharp. No, Meghan. That's not true. It is true, she insists. They're too young, they're unsettled, they're emotionally vulnerable. Stop, Harry cuts in. Stop using the children as shields. And this is the moment Meghan fully understands. She has lost control of him. Her expression changes. Not emotional. Not vulnerable. Steely. You're being reckless, Harry. You're being controlling, he replies. You're making decisions based on guilt. You're making decisions based on fear. You don't know what you're doing. And you don't get to decide that. Silence. A thick, electric silence. Then Meghan whispers. Everything I do is to protect this family. Harry steps closer. No, he says. You do everything to protect your image. And for the first time in this entire conflict, Meghan's mask cracks. Her eyes widen. Just a fraction. A flicker of truth. A flash of vulnerability. Immediately, she covers it with irritation. That's unfair, she snaps. Ridiculous. You don't even understand what you're saying. But Harry does. He finally does. And this is where the emotional stakes rise. Harry knows now that Meghan's actions aren't coming from love, but from fear. Fear of losing relevance. Fear of losing narrative dominance. Fear of losing control. And for Harry, a man who grew up suffocating under control, the realization is suffocating. He steps back. I'm taking the kids to see him, Meghan. Her lips part slightly. You're not, she whispers. I am. No, I am. Meghan's breathing changes. Her posture shifts. Her expression hardens. And then, in a chillingly calm voice, she says, Then you leave me no choice. Harry's heart drops. What does that mean, he asks. But Meghan doesn't answer. She simply turns away, walks back to the bed, picks up her phone, and says, I'm making the call. What call? Harry demands. But she ignores him. She dials a number. Someone answers. Meghan says 4 quiet words. It's time to proceed. Proceed with what? Harry steps forward. Meghan, what did you just do? She turns. Calm. Controlled. Cold. You'll see. And the terrifying truth is, he will. And what Meghan just set in motion, quietly, strategically, ruthlessly, will hit the palace harder than anything she's done before. And Harry, he's about to find out exactly what she meant. What if the most terrifying words a partner can say are the ones that sound calm? Not shouted. Not panicked. Not emotional. Just controlled. Precise. Calculated. You'll see. Because when Meghan said those 2 words, those 2 simple, chilling, razor-thin syllables, Harry felt something cold crawl down his spine. Not fear of her. Fear of what she had just activated. And let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone you thought you knew transform into a person you don't recognize in real time? Because that's exactly what's happening here. Meghan didn't just react. She executed. And Harry, standing there with his heart pounding, confusion swirling, adrenaline spiking, knew this wasn't just another argument. Something was moving. Something was shifting. Something had been set in motion. But what? Meghan stands perfectly still, phone still in her hand, breathing steady. Harry takes a step forward. Who was that, he asks. Meghan doesn't answer. Instead, she sits down on the edge of the bed, crosses one leg over the other, and folds her hands neatly in her lap, the posture of someone who has already decided the outcome. Meghan, Harry says again, who did you call? She looks up finally. You're acting impulsively, she says. I'm acting responsibly. Responsible? Harry echoes. By making secret calls. By blocking the kids from seeing my father? But she lifts a hand abruptly, cutting him off. Harry, please. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. That right there, that line, hits him like a slap. Because it doesn't sound like a plea. It sounds like a warning. Harry's voice drops to a whisper. What did you just set in motion? Meghan tilts her head. Something that should have been done months ago. Stop talking in riddles, Meghan. Fine, she says sharply. You want honesty? Here it is. I just put something in place that will prevent you from making a catastrophic mistake. Harry's pulse quickens. Catastrophic mistake, he repeats. Taking my children to see their grandfather? Yes, she replies without hesitation. And who decides that, he demands. I do, she says quietly. Harry freezes. Because this, right here, is the moment he realizes the truth. Meghan no longer sees this as a marriage, but as a structure she controls. He steps back slowly. You can't just make decisions like this, he says. I can when the well-being of our children is involved, she counters. You're not protecting them, Harry fires back. You're isolating them. Meghan narrows her eyes. And I suppose you think the royal family will offer them emotional stability? I think they deserve to know where they come from, he snaps. They know where they come from, she says coldly. They come from us. And that is the contradiction that finally makes everything click for Harry. Meghan sees family as a unit she controls. Harry sees family as a network he belongs to. Those two realities cannot coexist. But before he can respond, Meghan stands. She smooths her clothes. She picks up her phone again. She adjusts her expression into something neutral but sharp. Where are you going? Harry asks. She walks toward the door. To handle the fallout before it starts. Fallout. Fallout from what? The word echoes in Harry's mind like a warning bell. He grabs her arm gently. Meghan, stop. Tell me what you did. She turns slowly, her voice almost frighteningly calm. I made sure you can't take the kids without a process. A process? Harry repeats. What process? A legal one. The floor drops out beneath him. You spoke to a lawyer? No, she says. I spoke to 3. And that's when the panic hits him, not for himself, but for the children. Meghan, Harry whispers, why would you escalate this? Because you weren't listening, she replies. And men like you only understand boundaries when they come with consequences. That sentence stuns him. Men like you. Not husbands. Not partners. Not fathers. Men like you. Harry feels the air shift. The room warp. The atmosphere crack. In that moment, he realizes. This isn't about the kids. This isn't about safety. This isn't about family. This is about power. And Meghan is willing to use any tool, legal, emotional, strategic, to maintain it. He steps closer. So what did you tell them? He asks carefully. Meghan doesn't blink. That you were considering taking the children out of the country without mutual consent. That's not true, Harry fires. It doesn't have to be true, she replies quietly. It just has to be preventable. Harry feels heat rush into his face. You weaponized custody, he whispers. I established boundaries, she corrects. You filed something, he says, realization dawning like a storm. I initiated something, she replies. What exactly did you initiate, he demands. She turns away. You don't need to know that yet. But Harry steps in front of her. No more secrets. She finally looks him in the eyes. Emergency precautionary measures. And there it is. The bomb. Harry feels like he's been punched. Precautionary measures, he repeats. Against me? Meghan nods slowly. You're unstable right now, Harry. I'm unstable. He laughs, a hollow, disbelieving sound. I'm unstable because I want my kids to know their grandfather? You're unstable because you're making emotional decisions that could damage the entire family, she says. The family, he snaps. You're destroying the family. Meghan stiffens. Don't raise your voice at me. Don't weaponize my children, he fires back. Their eyes lock. The tension is no longer simmering. It's boiling. Then Meghan says something that chills him to the bone. If you want this to be handled calmly, then you will stop pushing. If you continue down this path, you will force my hand. Force your hand to do what? Harry demands. She exhales slowly. A controlled breath. A measured breath. A breath that signals a decision has already been made. To defend myself. Against what? Against whom? Against Harry? But she doesn't say it explicitly. She doesn't need to. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. Harry runs his hands through his hair. This is insane, he whispers. We were supposed to make decisions together. No, Meghan says softly. We were supposed to make decisions that protect us. By shutting out my family. By preventing them from regaining control over you. Harry stares at her. Meghan rarely shows her cards this openly. But tonight, the mask is gone. And what's underneath is fear. Deep, consuming, identity-defining fear. But fear of what? Losing him. Or losing control of him. Before he can respond, Meghan's phone buzzes. She looks at it. Her expression changes. Not shock. Not worry. Confirmation. She turns the screen slightly, just enough that Harry can see a fraction of the message. It's from a law office. Proceeding confirmed. Harry feels his heart plummet. What does that mean? He chokes out. Meghan locks her phone calmly. It means the situation is now being handled by professionals who understand the stakes. Harry takes a step back, as if physically hit. You escalated this legally, he whispers. You escalated our private argument into a legal case. If you had listened to me, she says coolly, I wouldn't have had to. Harry's jaw trembles, not from weakness, but from the shock of betrayal. You didn't even give me a chance, he says. You didn't even try to talk about it. We talked, she replies. You just didn't say what I needed to hear. And what was that? Harry asks. That you would stay? That you wouldn't go? That you wouldn't take them? Harry stares at her in disbelief. You wanted obedience, he whispers. I wanted reassurance, she corrects. No, he says firmly. You wanted control. Meghan falls silent. Not because he's wrong, but because he finally sees the truth. Meghan, Harry says, voice trembling. You didn't call a lawyer to protect the kids. She doesn't react. You called a lawyer to protect your position. She swallows. Barely. You're twisting this, she whispers. No, Harry says. I'm finally untwisting it. Meghan turns away, her shoulders shaking slightly. Whether from anger or fear, Harry can't tell. Harry, she says quietly, don't push this. Please. If you push this, I'll have no choice but to take more formal steps. Formal steps? Harry repeats. Against your own husband? If it keeps the children safe, she replies. Harry's voice cracks. Safe from what? Safe from whom? Meghan turns slowly. From the chaos you're walking them into. But Harry sees something else entirely. She isn't protecting the children from chaos. She's protecting them from influence. Influence she can't control. Influence that exists outside her orbit. Influence that threatens the narrative she built. He stares at her for a long moment. Then he speaks. What did my father ever do to you? Meghan freezes. She doesn't answer. She can't answer. Because the truth is brutal. It wasn't what Charles did. It was what he represented. Connection. Heritage. Identity. A past she couldn't rewrite. A future she couldn't narrate. And for Meghan, that is the greatest threat of all. Harry steps closer. Tell me the truth, Meghan, he says. Did you take legal action to protect the kids? Or to protect your control over this family? The room goes quiet. Meghan's face goes pale. Her eyes flicker. Her lips part. She finally whispers, You're not ready for the answer. And before Harry can respond, before he can push, beg, scream, demand, her phone buzzes again. She looks down. Her eyes widen, this time in genuine shock. Harry sees her expression change instantly. What is it? He asks. She slowly lifts her gaze. It's from your father's office, she whispers. What do they want? Harry asks urgently. Meghan swallows hard. Her voice barely audible. You need to sit down, Harry. Why? She looks directly into his eyes. Because the king just made a move none of us expected. What if the moment that detonates everything doesn't arrive like thunder, loud, violent, unmistakable, but instead slips into the room as a whisper? What if the moment that changes the entire direction of your marriage, your family, your future arrives in the form of a single notification on a phone screen, glowing faintly in a dim bedroom, illuminating the face of the one person who least expected it? That's exactly what happens as Meghan stands there frozen, staring at her phone, her breath tight in her chest, her voice caught somewhere between disbelief and panic. She doesn't speak at first, which is so unlike her that Harry immediately feels the air shift. Meghan doesn't freeze. Meghan reacts. Meghan moves. Meghan strategizes. Meghan calculates. But this stunned, wide-eyed, breathless stillness is new. And Harry feels an uncomfortable ripple of dread spreading slowly through his body as he watches her expression crack ever so slightly. Meghan, he says, stepping closer, his voice softer but edged with urgency. What does it say? She doesn't answer right away. Her lips tighten, her eyes dart left then right, as if she's searching for an angle, a spin, a way to deliver the news without losing control. But the message she's looking at doesn't give her room to spin. It's too direct, too blunt, too loaded. Finally, she exhales a long, shaking breath. He's requesting an emergency meeting, she murmurs. Harry blinks, confused. A meeting? With who? Meghan lifts her eyes to his slowly, and this time there is no mask, no shield, no performance. Just raw, unmistakable alarm. With us. For a moment, the room feels like it collapses inward. Harry doesn't move. He doesn't breathe. He just stares at her, the words hanging between them like a live wire. An emergency meeting. Requested not through intermediaries, not through aides, not through the press, but directly, personally, from his father. Something about that feels monumental. Something about that feels final. Something about that feels different. When Harry asks, "Tomorrow morning," she replies. The immediacy is shocking. The speed is unprecedented. Even during the most chaotic moments of royal life, scandals, crises, leaks, feuds, nothing ever moved this fast. Royal institutions operate like glaciers, not storms. But this feels like the beginning of something seismic. Harry's throat tightens. Where? Meghan hesitates, and the silence is enough to send Harry's heartbeat into a sprint. At Windsor, Harry's breath catches. Windsor, not Clarence House, not Sandringham, not Balmoral, not a Zoom call, not a conference, not a mediator. Windsor, the place where everything began, where he grew up, where his childhood ghosts still live, where his mother's absence still lingers in every hallway, where every memory, good and bad, is etched into the walls. Windsor is not just a location. Windsor is symbolic. Windsor is emotional. Windsor is confrontational. And for King Charles to insist on Windsor means only one thing. This is not a casual conversation. This is not a polite request. This is not a negotiation. This is a summons. Harry feels his chest tighten. Did they say why? Meghan nods slowly. Yes. What did they say? His voice cracks slightly. Meghan closes her eyes, as if bracing for impact. They said the situation has reached a level that requires immediate intervention. Intervention. The word detonates in Harry's mind. Intervention, he repeats, stunned. Intervention for what? For us? For the children? For everything, Meghan says, her voice sharper now, but not out of anger, out of fear. Harry, they're stepping in. And that's when Harry understands the magnitude of what's unfolding. This isn't Charles reaching out as a father. This isn't the palace making a request. This isn't a family conversation. This is the monarchy stepping into their lives. Not subtly, not gently, not carefully, openly, directly, with intent. And that means whatever Meghan triggered with her phone calls earlier tonight escalated far beyond what she expected. She didn't just set off a warning shot. She set off a chain reaction. Harry steps back, running a hand through his hair, his mind racing. They don't call emergency meetings. They don't get involved in private matters. They don't. They do now, Meghan interrupts quietly. Harry looks at her, and for the first time since this argument began, she looks shaken, truly shaken. The confidence, the precision, the control, all of it is slipping. And Harry knows Meghan does not fear many things. But she fears the palace. She fears being challenged on equal ground. She fears losing control of a story she carefully curated. She fears being seen, truly seen, without the narrative she constructs. Harry, she whispers, voice trembling. This isn't just about visitation anymore. This isn't just about Charles wanting to see the kids. He nods slowly. I know. No, Meghan says, stepping closer. You don't know? They're not just asking to see the kids. They're asking to see us. Harry swallows hard. Because she's right. And the implications are massive. When the royal family wants to see you. In person, without media, without intermediaries, without handlers, it means decisions are being made. Decisions about your role, your status, your relationship to the institution, your future position within or outside the family. Harry lowers himself onto the edge of the bed. So they know. They know everything, Meghan replies. Or at least they know enough. The legal calls she made. The letters. The tension. The escalating conflict. Harry's intention to bring the children. Her attempts to block it. The palace is not stupid. They read patterns. They detect fractures. They sense crisis instantly. And now, they're intervening. Did they say who will be there? Harry asks. Meghan looks away again. Harry's heart drops. Meghan, who is going to be there? She takes a deep breath. Charles. Camilla. William. Harry's breath stops. William, he repeats softly. And just like that, another emotional earthquake hits him. He hasn't seen William in months. Their relationship is strained, bruised, bitter, broken, not beyond repair, but far from healed. And now his brother will be waiting for him in Windsor? Tomorrow? In person? Is anyone else going to be there? Harry asks, voice barely above a whisper. Meghan hesitates again. Harry's stomach knots. Meghan. She finally says it. Princess Anne. Harry closes his eyes. Princess Anne doesn't get involved in nonsense. She doesn't tolerate theatrics. She doesn't entertain drama. If she is present, it means the situation has crossed a line. That's the full list, he asks. Meghan bites her bottom lip. There's one more name. Harry feels the room tilt. Who? Meghan meets his eyes. Edward. Harry flinches. King Charles. Queen Camilla. Prince William. Princess Anne. Prince Edward. This is not a meeting. This is a tribunal. A royal intervention. A family reckoning. A full-circle confrontation decades in the making. Harry feels the weight of the moment settle over him like a thick fog. The air grows colder. The colors dim. The edges of the room blur. It's as if the world is narrowing down to two realities fighting for space inside his mind. Reality 1. He must go. Reality 2. Meghan will do everything in her power to stop him. Harry, Meghan whispers, her voice trembling again. You can't face them alone. He looks up at her, stunned by the sudden shift. You want to come? He asks. Meghan shakes her head quickly. No, I can't go. They don't want me there. That stings more than Harry expects. So the invitation was only for me? He asks. Meghan nods. It was clearly directed at you. They didn't even mention me. Not once. Harry exhales deeply. The palace isn't giving Meghan a seat at the table. That's intentional, purposeful, deliberate. And for someone who has spent years crafting her public position, that exclusion hurts her in ways she cannot articulate. Harry. Meghan adds, stepping toward him urgently. They're going to corner you. They're going to emotionally break you down. They're going to twist everything I've ever said or done. They're going to turn this into a narrative where I'm the villain and you're the lost child they're trying to save. Harry looks at her slowly. Is that what you're afraid of? She swallows. Yes. But Harry sees something deeper behind that yes, something she didn't mean to reveal. Because beneath the fear of being blamed lies a greater, more vulnerable truth. She is afraid Harry might believe them. Harry, Meghan says again, voice cracking, you're walking into a trap. Or, Harry replies softly, I'm walking into a family that finally wants to talk. Meghan closes her eyes for a moment, pained. You really think they care? She asks. Harry thinks quietly. Do they care? Or are they trying to regain power? Or are they genuinely concerned? Or is this something else entirely? He doesn't know. Not yet. But he knows one thing. He has to go. They asked for me, he says. And I'm going. Meghan takes a step back, shaking her head. Harry, please. Don't do this. Don't let them manipulate you. Don't let them convince you that everything is your fault. Don't let them. Meghan, Harry interrupts gently. I need to face them. No, you don't, she insists. You need to stay here. With your family. With the people who actually care about you. Harry looks at her, and his voice softens. My family is there too. That sentence shatters something inside her. He sees it. She feels it. The room feels it. And in that fragile moment, Meghan says something she has never admitted out loud. Not to him. Not to the world. Not even to herself. If you go back there, she whispers, I'm afraid you won't come back the same. Harry steps closer. Maybe that's exactly what needs to happen. Meghan recoils as if he struck her. Wow, she breathes, voice trembling. So that's where we are now? Harry shakes his head slowly. No, that's where we've been for a long time. A long, heavy silence stretches between them. The kind that signals a truth neither wants to face. Finally, Meghan breaks the silence. So what now? She asks. Harry takes a deep breath. Now, he says, I call them back. Meghan's eyes widen. Harry, no. But he's already walking toward the bedroom door. Already pulling his phone from his pocket. Already scrolling to the number. Harry, Meghan says again, desperation creeping into her voice. Think about what you're doing. He turns back to her. I am, he says quietly. For the first time in a long time. I really am. He presses call. The line rings. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, hello. It's not King Charles. It's not William. It's not, enter Edward. It's a voice Harry hasn't heard in years. A voice he never expected to hear tonight. And when he hears it, he nearly drops the phone. Because the voice says, "Harry, we need to talk. All of us." Harry's face goes pale. It's, "Mum would want you here." Harry's breath stops. Because the voice on the line belongs to the one person he thought he'd lost forever. Princess Diana's eldest sister, Lady Sarah. For a moment, Harry forgets how to breathe. His hand grips the phone so tightly his knuckles lose their color. His throat closes. His pulse thunders in his ears. Because that voice, that gentle, haunting, unmistakably familiar voice, pulls him back through decades of memory in an instant. It's like hearing an echo of his mother filtered through someone who shares her softness, her cadence, her quiet strength. Lady Sarah McCorquodale has always been the closest living connection to Princess Diana, the keeper of her stories, her temperament, her truth. And now she is calling him directly. Not through aides, not through the palace, not through intermediaries. Directly, privately, deliberately. "Harry," she repeats softly, as if she senses his breath hitching on the other end of the line. "Are you there, darling?" He swallows hard, blinking rapidly as the room blurs around him. He manages a ragged whisper. "Aunt Sarah?" When Meghan hears the name, her entire posture changes. Her face freezes. Her lips pull tight. Her eyes widen with a flicker of disbelief and something sharper, discomfort. Because Meghan knows this is different. This is not palace politics. This is not Charles, not Camilla, not William, not Anne. This is Diana's blood, Diana's voice, Diana's memory, Diana's moral authority. And Meghan has no script prepared for that. Lady Sarah continues gently. "I know this must feel sudden, but we didn't have the luxury of time. Things have escalated far too quickly, and we've been worried." Harry sits down slowly on the edge of the bed, feeling dizzy. Worried about what? There is a pause on the other end, the kind of pause that feels heavy, weighted, considered. When she speaks again, her voice is lower. "Worried about you. Worried about the children. Worried about the pressure you're both under. Worried that everything has gone so far that no one is stepping in to stop the damage." Harry closes his eyes. Because these words cut straight into the truth he has been avoiding, that his family sees him breaking. That people outside the palace walls are sensing the fractures. That the consequences of tonight's argument are rippling outward faster than he imagined. Meghan steps closer, her tone sharp. "Harry, put it on speaker." He doesn't. Lady Sarah continues. "Your father asked the family, to intervene before this became something none of us could undo." Harry feels a deep ache in his chest. "Aunt Sarah, is this really necessary?" Her sigh is long and exhausted. "I'm afraid so, sweetheart. This isn't just about a trip or a disagreement. This is about the future of your children and the emotional toll all of this is taking on them. And you." Harry looks up at Meghan and realizes she's listening very carefully, analyzing every vowel, every syllable, every nuance. Because this isn't a palace figure coming after her. This is a family member she cannot publicly criticize without backlash. A relative connected directly to Diana, whose legacy Meghan often invokes when convenient. But not like this. Not when that legacy stands opposite her. "Harry," Lady Sarah says gently, "I need you to come tomorrow. Your father is insisting. William is insisting. And, well, I am too." Harry's voice breaks. Why now? Why all at once? Another pause. Another careful breath. "Because we are afraid if we don't step in today, we may lose you tomorrow." Meghan's eyes sharpen. The implication is clear. Lose him, not physically. Emotionally. Psychologically. To chaos. To pressure. To conflict. Or worse, to a marriage destroying him from the inside out. Harry's voice trembles. "Aunt Sarah, things are complicated." "I know," she says softly. "But that's why you need family now more than ever. Real family. Real family." The words hit like a punch. Meghan inhales sharply. Lady Sarah continues, her tone unflinchingly gentle but firm. "Your mother loved you fiercely. She gave everything she had to protect you. And if she were here, Harry, she would want you to come. She would want you to speak. She would want you to stand in the same room as the people who have known you your entire life. And let us help you before things fall further apart." Harry feels tears burning at the edges of his eyes. Anything connected to his mother always does that. But Meghan, watching him crumble, cannot allow the emotional pull to go unanswered. She steps forward quickly, her voice pressing into the conversation like a blade. He's not going anywhere without discussing this properly. Harry looks up sharply, but before he can speak, Lady Sarah responds in a tone Meghan has never heard directed at her before. Meghan, my dear, this is a conversation between mother's family and her son. Meghan stiffens. It's not rude. It's not hostile. It's not disrespectful. It's a boundary. A very old, very quiet, very powerful boundary. And Meghan hates boundaries she cannot break. Harry is married. Meghan says, fighting for control. We make decisions together. Lady Sarah's voice remains kind but immovable. Some decisions transcend marriage. Harry's breath catches. Meghan's eyes narrow. The temperature in the room drops several degrees. Lady Sarah continues, I'm not calling to undermine your relationship. I'm calling because Harry is in pain. The children are caught in the middle, and this situation is spiraling faster than any of us anticipated. Harry wipes his face with the back of his hand. Aunt Sarah, I don't know what to do. Meghan immediately interjects. Harry, don't. Let him speak, Lady Sarah says simply. Meghan falls silent. The gentle authority in Sarah's tone silences her more effectively than any confrontation could. Meghan can fight the palace. She can fight the tabloids. She can fight narratives. But Diana's sister? That is a battle she cannot win. Harry's voice trembles. I feel like I'm tearing in two. Between my father and my wife. Between what I want and what I'm allowed to want. Meghan turns toward him sharply. Allowed? Harry, what are you talking about? But Harry doesn't look at her. He keeps his eyes fixed ahead, as if he's speaking to a memory rather than a person. Lady Sarah answers gently. You are allowed to want whatever brings you peace. Harry swallows hard. Peace. What a foreign word. A word he hasn't felt in years. A word that seems to belong to another era of his life. Quiet, steady, unbroken. Tomorrow, Lady Sarah continues, isn't an attack. It's a bridge. Your father is asking for one chance. One conversation. One attempt to reconnect before the gulf becomes too wide. Meghan shakes her head, stepping forward, ready to take back control of the conversation. Harry, you cannot let them guilt-trip you into something that will damage us. Harry finally turns to her, and for the first time tonight, she sees something new in his eyes, something unsettling. Clarity. He speaks softly. Meghan, this isn't about them. It's about me. She recoils. What's that supposed to mean? He doesn't answer her. Instead, he brings the phone back to his ear. Aunt Sarah, I'll come. Meghan's face drains of color. Lady Sarah exhales with palpable relief. Thank you, darling. We'll be waiting for you at 10. Harry nods slowly. I understand. But Harry, she adds gently, there's one more thing. Harry freezes. What? Lady Sarah takes a steadying breath. Tomorrow, this won't just be a meeting. This will be the conversation your mother prayed you'd have one day. Harry's chest tightens. Meghan's fists clench. Lady Sarah finishes quietly. It's time to come home. With that, she ends the call. The silence that follows is suffocating. Harry stands slowly, staring at nothing, thinking of everything. Meghan steps toward him, voice trembling with fury and fear. Harry, you cannot go. He turns toward her, and the calm in his voice terrifies her. I'm going. You're walking into a setup, she cries. They're going to destroy you. Harry shakes his head. No, Meghan. They're trying to save me. Save you from what? She snaps. Harry looks at her, really looks at her. And the answer hangs heavy in the air even before he speaks it. From this, Meghan staggers back as if struck. Her breathing becomes shallow. Her voice cracks. Harry, don't do this. But he steps past her, heading for the door, for air, for clarity, for escape. Harry, she shouts. He stops at the doorway. For a moment, just a moment, she thinks he might turn back. But he doesn't. What if the most dangerous decisions we make aren't the ones born from anger, but the ones born from fear? What if the choices that break everything aren't the ones we plan weeks in advance, but the ones we make in a moment of panic, when we feel everything slipping away at once? Because that's exactly where Meghan is now. She stands alone in that dimly lit bedroom, her phone still pressed against her ear, her breath shaky, her heart pounding like a war drum. Harry's last words, I need truth. are still echoing through her skull, slicing deeper with every replay. She knows what those words meant. She knows what tomorrow means. She knows what Windsor represents. And she knows that if Harry goes through with the meeting, she loses the one thing she can't live without. Control. Not control of the palace. Not control of the tabloids. Not control of the public. But control of Harry. The narrative surrounding him, the emotional world around him, the choices he makes, the version of himself he allows to exist. And now that control is slipping. Dangerously. Irreversibly. So Meghan does what she always does when she feels the walls closing in. She acts before thinking. She reacts before listening. She moves before consequences can catch up. On the other end of the phone, a voice answers. Smooth. Confident. Familiar. Understood. Do you want me to confirm once it's carried out? Meghan grips the phone tighter, her nails pressing into her palm. Yes.